Okay, it looks like we are live. Welcome to this week's Q&A. What we're talking about this week is yeast. I'm assuming candida, but we can talk about different kinds of yeast. I also had someone ask me about nutritional yeast. So we're just definitely going to talk about yeast, what we do when we have yeast overgrowth or any kind of overgrowth in the digestive tract. And I don't like to use protocols because there's one size fits all. There are different things that work for different people. Anyway, I think that's a great topic. It's something that's definitely been on top of my mind. So I loved it when someone reached out and asked me that. So that's a reminder, comments, send me a DM, anything, anytime you want to talk about these things. Also, I have several other things I want to talk to you about. So let's hop to it. So if we are talking about an overgrowth in the system, a yeast or a fungal overgrowth, that can lead to leaky gut, that can lead to all sorts of uncomfortable feelings. And so first we need to look at, different foods. Yeast feed on sugar. And so whenever you're dealing with something like a yeast overgrowth, the first thing you want to do is not only remove the known inflammatory foods, we want to also make sure that we're removing sugary types of foods. And so if it's something that has been long standing, that means even removing fruits and things like that. So what I like to do is generally start, depending on how long someone's been dealing with this, start with removing processed foods, flours, things like that. Number one, gluten and dairy, they're out, right? We know those are inflammatory. But then we will also remove any high glycemic foods and focus on low glycemic foods. And so I don't always eliminate fruit, and I usually go through 2 rounds. So if you have something like parasites or something like that, sometimes we don't know unless we have a stool test. Is it parasites? Is it yeast overgrowth? Something like that. They can take multiple rounds. Like if it's a parasite, parasites lay eggs. And so if you do a protocol, you may be killing all the adults, but then the eggs are still there and then they grow. And so a lot of times people will do a protocol and they'll say it didn't work. And it's because they need to do it a little bit longer. And so I like to do 2 months. And so usually I will do one that is not as stringent, see what happens. And if things don't seem to be better, then we start removing fruits, beans. And so it can get restricted. And so that's why I like to use the other method first, where we're still eating berries, cherries, some beans, not all beans, but we don't remove everything. We still want to eat while we're focusing on boosting the things that we do want, the bifidobacteria, the lactobacillus type of creatures, and we focus on eating fermented foods. And so we're not blasting anything. We're building up the foods we want while we're starving the things that we don't want. What happens is those first 3 or 4 days can be really, really tough. Those of you who've been through the 5-day reset, we have to get through day 3 before you start feeling better. The same thing happens if you've been eating sugary type foods and you have a yeast or fungal overgrowth. Those creatures, that's their food. They are starving, literally starving to death. So they're going to be screaming loud, give me my sugar. And so sometimes it really is hard to hang in there to get through it. And there are some supplements and things that I like to use too. Y'all know I like Dr. Christopher. I went to the School of Natural Healing. And so there are a lot of products there. There are also some other products that I've used from Whole Foods and even some I've used from Amazon. So there are several different foods. Now, if you have a candida, that's usually the one we hear the most about. There's several different types, but candida is a yeast. It is normally in the body. We all have these different things, just like I talk about in my other talks. We have the good ones and the bad ones, right? Good cop, bad cop, and they all work together. We keep them all in balance. But if we are unhealthy, we're eating inflammatory foods. We're eating foods that don't allow the good ones to thrive, the high fiber foods, rainbow colored foods. If we're not eating those foods, we're not growing and feeding the microbes that do feed on those. If we were stuck out in the wild and had to eat what's in the wild, we would be eating a lot of leafy greens, right? Because usually year round, depending on where you live, that's about all you can find all the time, right? Are those leafy greens. And so we need to be making sure we're eating the leafy greens, eating foods seasonally. just like I talked about a few weeks ago, if you're growing a garden, you don't see tomato worms until you have tomatoes growing, and all of a sudden these tomato worms show up out of nowhere, right? The same thing happens in our body when we're eating specific foods. Those items come to us, and we have to keep them healthy to protect the plants. We also have to keep ourselves healthy by feeding the right foods, having good, healthy soil to grow good, healthy cells, or to grow your good, healthy plant. Well, in a candida situation, sometimes like if we go through that first protocol, we kill things off, but we don't inoculate, we don't grow back the right things, those that can hang in there, those that are more resistant, start to thrive. And candida is one of those. And as it starts to grow, it gets bigger and bigger, and it multiplies, it changes shape. And so this shape can embed into our tissues, which makes it, number one, much harder to get rid of. Number two, it starts causing damage to the intestinal lining. And number three, it gives off toxins that lead to inflammation and other symptoms that we'll talk about in a minute. And so also, when we kill it, it also gives off toxins. So these are really difficult things, right? And so really the best way to know if you have one is a stool test. If you suspect one, it's always a good idea. Eat low glycemic, focus on fermented foods, and see how you do first. See if you can get better. And if not, then do a stool test. You don't have to jump to a stool test right away. So before you do any of that, you want to make sure you're pooping. And so I hate that we keep going back to poop, but when we kill these things, if they're giving off toxins, we don't want to reabsorb those toxins. We need them out of the body. So you need to make sure that you're going to the bathroom using methods that are healthy and right for you. You don't want to take an over-the-counter laxative that you're going to have to depend on to go to the bathroom. We need the system moving correctly. There are some herbs that you can use, and we want some that are not habit forming. And so in Ayurvedic medicine, they use triphala, and that isn't a lot of thyroid supplements, because in low thyroid, which would be high TSH, if your thyroid is sluggish, then everything is sluggish, including the digestive system. And so a lot of times triphala is in there to help with motility, to help things moving on. Because if my thyroid thinks I need to slow down, then everything that causes those vibrations, those muscle contractions, slow down too, and triphala can help with that. So can herbs like Cascara sagrada. But medical disclaimer, I am not a medical provider. I'm not diagnosing, treating, prescribing, definitely not prescribing. I just want you to do your own due diligence and look into these things. So making sure that the bowels are moving before you start looking at getting rid of these things. So if you have a yeast overgrowth in your digestive system, there may be bloating and gas. There could be diarrhea. There could be constipation. So it's really hard to tell looking in the digestive tract. You could have abdominal pain. You could have burping and burning in the esophagus. Well, that could also be related to hydrochloric acid. It could be high hydrochloric acid. It could also be low hydrochloric acid. And so a lot of times people jump into Tums and other antacids when they actually already have low hydrochloric acid. So then their blood work comes back showing they have low protein, and they think they need to eat more meat. Not necessarily the case. We need high hydrochloric acid to break down amino acids to absorb the proteins. Anyway, that was a tangent. It could be itching and burning in the anus. It could be burping, like I said before. Systemically, you have a yeast infection, then there's a good chance you have migraines or headaches. Maybe you think they're migraines. You could have a lot of muscle pains and aches, and it could be pain in one area, and then a few days later, pain in another area. It kind of can move. Fatigue. You could have allergy symptoms. Oh, I have these crazy allergies. Maybe it's not allergies. It could be an overgrowth. And maybe you're having trouble with your cycle, or your sex hormones are off on your blood work. As far as your central nervous system, you could be feeling depressed. It definitely can cause depression. A lot of our neurotransmitters are created in the gut. So if we have something going on with the gut, that can affect our mental health as well. And there's such a stigma with mental health, but get help if you are struggling. It could be problems with focusing and memory. In children, it can be learning issues. You could be having balance problems. If you notice that you're having trouble, you're running into things, or you're bumping into stuff, or you just seem to be not quite as stable as normally, that can be linked to an overgrowth, and anxiety can be linked as well. So number one, you want to stop eating anything that creates sugar. So that's your refined carbs, especially your flours. Like people will switch to gluten-free breads and things when I tell them to go gluten-free, but those are definitely not low glycemic and they can be sugar producing. And so that's feeding the wrong critters there. Alcohol, fruit juice, all of those things will feed yeast and fungus. So we need to get rid of those. We want to take in things like there are some things in your kitchen that can help you kill them off. And so that could be oregano, that could be pumpkin seeds, that could be garlic. All of those things are very antimicrobial, antiviral, antiparasitic. And so using a lot of those herbs may help you get it under control, as well as reducing, not reducing, but eliminating the sugars and the sweet foods, and especially processed foods. Take nutrients that heal the lining. So we want foods that are high in vitamin A. What foods are those? Well, we want to say beta carotene, not vitamin A. I don't like to recommend taking vitamin A unless you've had a blood test where you do need it. So sometimes there is someone who needs it. But with anyone with autoimmune condition or cancer, there is a good chance that they are low in vitamin A. But instead of supplementing, I want you to eat orange and red foods. So that is difficult when we're looking for starches, right? It's hard to get a lot of red and orange foods because we think of like sweet potatoes and carrots and things like that. Well, raw carrots are lower glycemic than cooked carrots. You can make sweet potato noodles. Those actually are very high in fiber and not as low glycemic. And you can even eat them raw or lightly sauteed. Maybe it doesn't sound so great to you, but as a first round, I would eat sweet potatoes, not white potatoes, but sweet potatoes. If it doesn't work in the first round, then I would eliminate sweet potatoes. But winter squashes are definitely lower glycemic, and those are also going to offer beta carotene as well. And then we want to, like coconut oil, that can be great. Turmeric can be great. And then there are some other herbs as well. I really like raw and living foods when I'm looking at someone with candida or yeast overgrowth. So what does that mean? Sprouts, broccoli sprouts, mung bean sprouts, adzuki sprouts, radish sprouts. If you like radishes, those are a little too spicy for me. Taking digestive enzymes. Once again, do your own due diligence. In choosing digestive enzymes, you want a high quality enzyme. You want the timing to be correct to help you break down your foods. Lots of green juices, green leafy vegetables. If you're having digestive issues, maybe you're having to run to the bathroom, things like that, then you want them lightly steamed and not raw. Eating raw red cabbage, if you're having stomach irritations, may just make it worse, may make gas and bloating even worse as well. And so steaming those things, eating sea vegetables, dulse, kombu, kelp, sprinkling those on your salads. Y'all have seen my shaker that I have for my salads. And then, like I said, focusing on building the right bacterias that we want to grow, the healthy ones. So including things like kefir. You can buy dairy-free or milk kefir, or some people say kefir, dairy-free yogurt. It's better to make your own or add your own capsule of probiotics to the yogurt to boost that. Because when you buy store-bought yogurt, they use cheaper probiotics because they need some that are going to last, not only in making and transportation, sitting on the shelves. It takes you it can go several weeks from the time they make it to the time you purchase it, and it sits in your fridge for a week. So it's not very potent and it's not high quality. And so you want to add your own to your yogurts and things like that. And looking for mixed strains. So I like Bifido. I like Bifido strains the best, but I want you to do your own due diligence. But that is something that I like to start with when someone is not taking any probiotics or things like that. So I was thinking there, let me check my notes. There was something else I wanted to say. So you want to make sure you're focusing on fiber. Make sure you're focusing on rainbow colored foods. Those are going to be the best ones for you. So hopefully that helps with that. I had some questions about can you eat nutritional yeast? So nutritional yeast is not an active yeast, and so but it's also controversial at the same time. So nutritional yeast is grown as a yeast, but then it is killed. And I do like nutritional yeast, but I look for those that are not, oh, what's the word? I'm having brain fog. Maybe I have a yeast problem. That are have supplements in them. So a lot of times people will buy nutritional yeast and say they're using that as their B supplement. However, they usually include folic acid. Folic acid, we hear about that. We think, oh, you need folic acid. That's in prenatal vitamins. That's helped with spina bifida. Folic acid is added because folate, which is the active form, the natural form of that B vitamin, helps with cellular growth. And so we want our cells to do what they're supposed to do and grow and die off and everything. Folic acid is man-made. It is a man-made supplement and it can cause growth. We want the cellular growth during pregnancy. However, we don't want cellular growth for cancer cells that are in the body. And so whenever you're buying B vitamins, you want to make sure you're not buying those that have folic acid. Well, nutritional yeast very often has folic acid. When you are looking for supplements, you want to look for the word folate if you need to supplement with B vitamins. Now, I prefer that you use foliage, eating those dark green leafy vegetables to get your B vitamins and your folate. But that is the only thing about nutritional yeast. Look for those that do not have any supplements added to them. They can be a little bit more challenging to buy, but there are some varieties out there. Bragg's definitely does have supplements added to them. So just check the ingredients. Always, always, always. Let me check and see if there's any other questions. I have a couple other things I wanted to talk to you about today. So Jennifer Swank, my Gen Twin, the Gen Twins, we have several different exciting opportunities coming up for all of you. We have a sugar workshop coming up. I don't see any other questions. We have a sugar workshop coming up September 30th. This is a half-day workshop where I'm so excited about this. It's something we've been wanting to do for quite a while. But what we'll do is when you sign up, not right away because we haven't completed our form, but as soon as possible, we will send out to you a shopping list of things to have at home. And so if you don't have a glucose meter or a CGM, we're going to give you a link to get a CGM, or we're going to tell you which, how to choose a glucose meter, a glucometer that you can use at home. You want to make sure you have the lancet, the test strips, and the meter so that you can test your blood sugar, or use a CGM, which is our favorite way to test blood sugar. So you'll get a list with that. And then what we're going to be doing is we're going to be eating foods and seeing how they affect our blood sugar while we go through some different exercises. And we're also going to learn a lot about blood sugar. So what that means is we're going to tell you that you can buy this green juice in the store, or you can make this green juice with us and then try it. You can make this food, or you can buy this food in the grocery store, so that we're all doing the same thing. Because the reason why we both got into this field is because our health is so individualized. And so when we go through the workshop, not only are you learning an important tool that is going to help, it could save your life actually, that's that important. You're going to learn this important tool, but you're also going to be able to use the information to suit you and your individual needs. So when Jennifer and I have done things before, things will affect my blood sugar and not affect hers, or affect hers and not mine. And so we want everyone to learn what foods are right for you, what foods are not right for you, what tools can you use if you do eat foods that maybe aren't quite right for you. You went out to eat, you went to a party or something. What are some things you can do to help bring your blood sugar down? We're going to be in the kitchen. We're going to be you can cook along with us, or you can watch it as a food demo. We're going to do exercises. And so we want you to dress comfortably. It is all going to be on Zoom, but we want you to sign up early so you can the list and get the recipes and everything as well. Anyway, that's September 30th. October 4th, Create a Healthier You is returning. That is our signature program. It used to be 12 weeks. We shortened it to 6 weeks, but we have added so much to it. It includes the 14-day liver cleanse. It includes the Revive and Thrive program. Programs that help you with energy, as well as 6 weeks of Create a Healthier You. So you'll be doing an elimination diet. We'll be doing the liver cleanse. We'll be learning how to eat more whole food, plant-based, not necessarily vegan. There is a place for animal products for some of you, but we will learn how to individualize that as well. And if you sign up early, you get a 45-minute one-on-one session with us to make sure that the program is individualized for you, because we know how individualized our health is. And so that is something that's starting October the 4th. Then we will have the 14-day liver cleanse, and then we will have the fall reset in November. So many things coming up, so many things for you to look into. If you're interested, then please let us know. I'll put a link to my calendar in here, and I'll ask Jennifer to put a link in for hers as well, because either one of us will be more than happy to hop on a call to help you with that. I have two more things when we're talking about yeast. These are my two go-to books. Unfortunately, the Zoom is kind of blurry. I don't know if I can get it clear in my YouTube channel. Anyway, this is Rainbow Green Live Food Cuisine by Gabriel Cousins. This is Body Ecology by Donna Gates. These are both really great books that can help you with foods and lifestyle to help with candida overgrowth. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was the Anne-Marie Serum Trio link. There's a link in my bio where you can buy this. There's 3 of them. You can see what size the bottles are. It's $24.95, I think, for these 3. There's one for stem cells. There's one for balancing the flora of your skin. And I'm an affiliate with Anne-Marie because it's the only skincare company that I really trust. You could actually eat these. We remember our skin is an organ. The outside is the same as the inside. And this is all one tube. These little hairs are like what's inside the body to push things through. And so we absorb the nutrients, just like in the intestines we absorb, on the skin we absorb as well. So we want to make sure it's all edible. Anyway, these anti-aging serums are fantastic. They feel so good and they smell so good. And there is a link in there if you're interested. I just wanted to make sure that I shared that with you. I buy them because they go in my travel bag. We're going on a nice trip for Christmas. These are perfect to fit into the bag. We may be in the snow and skiing, and so we're definitely going to need stuff to help protect the skin with the cold winter weather. Anyway, if you have questions for this next week, please comment. If you want to hop on a call, then feel free to click on my link or Jennifer's, and we'll be more than happy to do that. You can also message us in our DMs if there's something that you want to ask privately. We love to hear from you. Have a fabulous week. I'm sorry for going over again. Have a good week.